who's the assistant archivist with the county, based in County Hall in Swansea. And he's an Oxford graduate in Latin and Greek.
Oh my God.
No, hang on. The council taught him. And then he saw the light and he learned Welsh. He's learned to speak Welsh. But as you can imagine, his background of Latin and Greek has come in handy with translating a lot of his own documents that are in Latin, etc. And it's his first visit to Bryn. So we've seen Bryn in the dark. He'll have to come up there on a fine day to appreciate the village as it is. But he's going to talk tonight about the maps and the censuses they've got with their archives to take us through the development of the village, really. So I'll leave you over to you. Okay,
well, Dr. Mark, thank you very much for your welcome. And I'm a little bit nervous standing before you today because I haven't been here before, and I thought, oh well, maybe there'll be a bit of light in the sky. I'll be able to see a little bit of what the village is like. But basically, what I know about Bryn comes mostly from this book and from the archives I've researched. Now, this book's got all sorts of things in it, and I was sort of hoping that its author wouldn't be here. I didn't fancy being heckled, you know. But I'm also very much aware that many of you are born and bred in this place. You love it to bits. That's why you're here. And it's not up to me to stand here and say, "Oh, this is the history of your village, and I can tell you all about it," because I can't. What I want to do is to tell you what sort of things you can find at the archives, and whet your appetites, if possible, to come down and visit us and find out a little bit more. The thing is, the archives in Swansea feel like a long way away, and it may feel like it's nothing to do with this area, but it is, because it's the old county archives of West Glamorgan. When they separated Swansea and Neath Talbot, they didn't set up separate archives in the two. It's more cost effective to keep it all together. So if you want to know where your archives are, they're with us. And that's the place to go to find out a lot more. So what I want to do is to show you a little bit about the sort of things we've got. And some quite interesting things here, you know, because, you know, we grew up in places, we have a good look. We have a look at Pontardawe and Pontydilais and Gosainen and Taibach and many other places, and we think they've always been there. There's always been something there. But you look back at the old maps, it's not always the case. So let's go through a few things, right? Now, first of all, I thought, right, let's have a look at what Bryn's like now. So I got on Google Earth, and that's sort of snapped from a satellite that passed over here in the last year or so. So I got the general impression, you know, you've got the housing there, you've got the river going up the middle, and I'm told that's the remains of the old tip, which is now the nature reserve. Nice picture of what I could have seen if the sun had been out and the sun had been up. And I suppose we're off up here somewhere. But we're not here to look at what it's like now. We're here to look at what it used to be like. This must be about the 1900 mark. Now, there was something that happened around about 1900. They discovered postcards. The post said, right, okay, stick a halfpenny stamp on it and we'll get it there for you. And you got loads of these, photograph after photograph. That's great. So it means it's recorded, and all these people wandering about down here. We've got the old church and the colliery in the background there, and the streets of houses.
And that chimney, would that have been the brickworks?
No, it's out the line down.
No, brickworks.
Yeah,
Brickworks, is it?
Yeah, it's out the line to the brickworks, isn't it?
The brickworks.
That's a brickworks.
Brickworks is more to the left.
Oh, I think that's a brickworks too.
It's the way the photo's taken.
The photos.
Definitely.
There's nothing.
Yeah, that was it.
It must be around 1909. Is that the miners right
Where you are, sister?
But there was 2 stacks at the brickworks, not one.
I noticed the winding machine there, that wasn't there
No.
Do you know where the library is going now? What are the houses further up in the library there?
Church is built in
That's where
1900.
Dad's house is.
No, Roland's cottages.
No, they further
No,
up.
You've got loads of space around the church, haven't you?
Yeah.
So it's probably quite new, no trees or anything.
And the new school is there then, in
That's
Inverted
it.
Commas.
The old
The old school.
brand new.
It was new then.
Oh,
Yeah.
But where's that flat, Jesus? Where you lived at?
Yes, I know that.
What's that house up from your window? I haven't seen that great, is it?
That's the vicarage, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, down.
Roland's cottage.
No, up from your house.
Where your house is now?
Yeah, those cottages.
There.
That house, what is that house there?
Aren't those Roland cottages?
No,
Yes.
no, the cottages are up by the tree.
Sorry, Andrew.
You started something on
Where the
there.
trees are. Where it's on trees. That's where Roland's cottage is.
Yeah. Right, sorry, go on.
That's picture number 4, there's about 60 odd to go, so now the thing is, usually with these, we can turn them over and see what the postmark is, but I had that one off the internet, so I don't know what age it is. So that's interesting though, you can have a good look and think, oh well, is that, you know, what's where? And it puts things into context. Now then, context. This goes right back, because
Yeah.
you know, here's one of the earliest printed maps of this area. It's by a chap called John Speed, who did his maps in about 1610, 1611. He did a huge atlas of them, and cracking sort of bloke. He had no intention of surveying these things himself. He said, I've put my sickle into other men's corns. In other words, he blagged the lot of somebody else. But he did put these little town maps on here as well. But it gives you a good impression of what sort of places are important at the time. When you come to look in a bit more closely at this area, well there you are. You can see Llangynnoed, spelt unusually, Margam,
And having a pot.
that's right, Havanaporth Chapel. There's Aberavon there, got the Avon coming down, there's the Fruitwick coming down here. Havanaporth Chapel was basically one of the chapels, one of the Grange chapels that was attached to Margam Abbey. I read in the book that there used to be bits of it left, but it's all been sort of pretty much got rid of now. And that's a story that happens all over. But you're looking around this sort of area, aren't you? No mention of Bryn at all. Gone 100 years. This is the map by a chap called Bowen, and once again you've got your Aberavon there, Havanaporth Chapel. Now they're starting to put a few of the farms on here, but the major houses, not all of them, but they're putting a few on them. And you've got Penheath up here, so that's sort of getting there, but still no Bryn. And here we've got the road coming down here. That's the old road that went from Neath to there we are, and on beyond. And that's the one that we're pretty much on here, isn't it?
This
That's
is still called Neath Road, actually.
I was looking for Neath Road. Let's try to come up. I couldn't see anything called Neath Road.
It's Hill Grove, isn't it?
It's still on my Hill Grove is Neath Road is on my,
Still known
It's on my
locally,
map,
isn't
but
it?
it wasn't on the yeah.
but it doesn't always happen.
So we're standing pretty much there.
Yeah.
Now that says Rhyda Govdi or something like that.
Covillier, yeah, that's down.
Covillier, that's
Yeah.
it. Yes. There we are. So there's something here, but no village called Bryn.
That Rhyda Covillier is the bridge where opposite of Margaret Stratford used to live. Bottom of my garden.
Yeah,
There was a ford there before they built that place.
that's right.
Now here we are, 1799. This is the first 1-inch map done of the area, and you've got an awful lot more on there. Look at Aberavon, you've got all the little roads are on there. And River Avon, you've got coal pits mentioned here for the first time. Now Michaelston, well that's basically Cumavon, that's the old name for it, because it's St Michael's Church, you see.
Yeah.
That's the name of the old parish. Avon Forge, bit of industry down there. And here's the Fruitwick coming up here. And just down there.
Off the map then.
Well, it should be just about there, I would have thought.
No,
No, further over?
Yeah, further up.
It's hard.
Off the map, do you?
Ah, we're about
You're
here.
right, yeah, a bit higher up.
Ah, there we are. The trouble with this one is that it breaks off and it's different bits. I couldn't tell where it was going to be. And this one here is about 1812. Where are we here? Bryn.
Oh.
Yeah.
There we are. That was mentioned the first time. Bartek Bach. Drasiog.
Yeah.
Now, you've got this farm. Now, no one seems to be quite sure what it's called. Bryn Troed Gam is what they put there.
Yeah.
Now, it gets tidied up on the old survey maps to Bryn Troed Garn. What do you guys say? What do you reckon it is?
Well, I reckon it's that because the mountain behind it is Garnwen.
Yeah,
That's a mountain. There's another name for the village in Bryn Troed Rhywgam.
yeah,
Yeah. But there is a geological fault going through the village to cause that.
yeah. The older ones you'd have it as Gam, but it just
Yeah.
depends. It's lots of things are tidied up by the old survey and it's stuck. So it's basically just farms most of the time. And I love this thing because the farms were basically tenanted originally, well, insofar as we're able to know about these things, from the Abbey. The Abbey owned all of Margam Parish and much of the land around, and the people who farmed were the monks' tenants. In many cases, the monks themselves actually, would have farmed it by means of their granges, hence the Havant Porth thing. Eglwys Nynnydd, was a convent there, and various other ones along and around. And later on, they became normal tenanted farms. We don't know what the ones around here were like. I haven't managed to find any references to them in the old deeds from the time of the monks. But this is the first time they actually get mentioned that I've managed to find. 1686. And this is a rental book of the Margam Abbey estate. Now we've got a whole lot of these. They go from 1682. I chose 1686 as a bit clearer than 1682 to copy. But they go from 1682 all the way up to 1940, full run. So you can tell everybody who was a tenant to all these farms. And here we are, quite sort of dodgy sort of writing. These are all backwards, it's the old-fashioned way of doing them. But you can start beginning to see some of the names as he's looking frantically around for them. Right. David Jenkin for Thomas Groys, etc. He more for part of Penny Ganol. You've got
Anna Gross is in Portolwood.
Yes.
Penheed Canol is the other side, facing out of the Avon Valley and going up towards Avonagwy.
I think what I did was I broke it in half so you can see the top half and then you can see the bottom half. Because this one here has some of the ones which you recognise. Drasiog they put down there. And Thomas John Walby for part of Bryn Troed Gam. He more for Wern Derw, there we are.
That's Cwmendri, the reservoir.
Yeah. Richard David for Rhyd Gyfeillier.
Rhyd Gyfeillier, that's down where I'm living with them on that bridge.
Is it?
Yeah. There was a farm here up by the community centre called Evan Bach.
Small, that's right.
Small smithy, small blacksmith shop.
Alright.
So that's where Rhyd Gyfeillier, it was the phone of the blacksmith. When you think of all the droving that went on here, they needed a blacksmith in the area then to shoot the cattle or whatever.
A lot of people seem to rent a couple of farms at a time. So we also rent Enrhyw Gall Cwm. There we are.
That's Janet Jennett's farm.
He more for a tithe of Gall Cwm. That's a tenth. So basically, he's got various bits and pieces along there. But these are all places that you can, you know, presumably visit at least the ruins of, if not the actual farmhouse of now. I learnt from my book about all these sort of things, about all the various ones which are in ruins. Yeah. But he doesn't see, I didn't have the impression he'd seen these. So the two things are sort of, you know, they fill each other in. So and these things are wonderful because you get an impression of how big the farms are, how much money they're likely to, you know, these are the amounts they pay in rent and how far behind they are and all this sort of thing. And it gives you an impression of which farms were the richer ones, which ones are the poorer ones. Now, Margam Estate. Margam Estate is great because, like a lot of the local estates, they hired map makers to go around and do a plan of their estate. Now, with some of the estates, they've got a field here and a bit of a farm there, and another field there. It's very, very scrappy. But this particular set of estate maps, which were done in 1814, are wonderful because it's the whole parish, the whole thing. Look at this now. It tells you what map to look at. That's map R for that one, and map G for that bit down here, map E for over here, and so on. So you go through the book and just, you know, move from place to place. And I copied a few of them for you. They're great because they show you exactly what's going on at the time. Now, does anyone plough any fields around here? Any wheat, barley, or something going on? Just sheep. In those days, they ploughed what they could because they had to. You know, they take pretty grim sort of land, you know, valley bottom land, plough what they could, plant what they could, and then the sheep would be up on the tops. And you can see this from these. You can't see it very well. Don't you see this one here that's shaded in? They put lines down to show that it's been ploughed.
What farm is that under? Bryn?
Now then.
Any farm?
I'll have to look on here, so it's probably a bit easier to see. Pennyfowle, Penheath Bach, Penheath Ganol, Dennis Vowell it looks like as well. Yeah. So you've got various farms on each page. Moving on a bit, there we are, we've got Bryn, GLAM and Evalbach farms. Yeah. It's a little bit clearer on my laptop than on there. But it has to be a bit fuzzy to get it all in. And you move on a bit, you've got Dressiog Farm. And you've got Bartek Bowel, Bartek Bach farms. Gascombe. Yeah. Were you indeed? Well. In the centre here, you've got the sheep walk, which is, it does what it says on the tin, you know? It was just a big open pasture area, not like the smaller pasture fields. Some of these would have been pasture as well. That one looks like it was ploughed, and that one.
Quite a lot of them were.
Yeah. But they did what they could. Like you said, oats, potatoes, these sort of things. Anything which will give a fairly solid sort of yield. But plenty of barley and wheat when they could. And it must have been a hard living. Now then, this is an enlarged section of the Bryn GLAM bit because it is the bit that is right here. Here is Rugby Brook. There's Evalbach House. And there's that road going across from Neath and towards Llangynnoed. And actually this, you see a little bit of a track going down there. Absolutely, that's the main road back down the valley. But at that stage, it wasn't such an important road. The main road was the one going across to Neath. Look how much of that is ploughed all around here. That's all T. Icha House. Now I guess that's Bryn GLAM Icha Farm. And any left of those? They all gone?
Bryn GLAM, the farm here, that's still in, there's still a farm there.
Yeah.
Bryn GLAM, there's just the ruins though.
What do those numbers represent?
Well,
Each, sorry,
each page, you've got two sides. You've got the map on one side, and then you've got the schedule on the other. The point is, it's to cross-refer. So number whatever, okay, look down here, okay, here it is, and it'll tell you what the farm the field name is, and how big it is. And they put it down in two sets of measures, acres, roods and perches. Well, they do two sets because there's like what's called a statute acre, which is what, you know, the official size of an acre is, and then there's what's called a customary acre, or Welsh acre, which varies from place to place. And I think sometimes they just looked at it and went, well, it's about 5 acres, that one. That's what they put it down as. So it's what people call it locally and what it is officially. That's the thing. Up the top, you've got all the names of the tenants, which of course will cross-refer to those rentals I was showing you before. But basically, if you're interested in, you know, what it used to look like at the time, that's like, you know, getting up in a balloon and drifting over it, but going through your time machine first of all and going back 200 years to what it was like back then.
Tony, the field you've got on the side there,
Yeah, I was looking at it.
that's called Kevin Kethyn. That's the name of that field.
Is it?
I'll get you a map of it.
I was telling them there's an old ruins on
Yes.
this field, about number 25 there, haven't it? And there's no record of it as a building or farm or anything.
Might have been a low level, mate.
Yeah. Thing is, come on down, we'll get all the old maps out.
Alright.
Because it may be like a relatively recent ruin, or it could be a very old one. Sometimes, the talk I did the other day, sometimes you can take the field name and you can find an awful lot about what used to be there before. So I found a field in Killay called Kai Capel. And you think, well, there's a couple of chapels in Killay, you know, there's Siloam, there's the English Congregational Chapel, you know. Must be something to do with that, but no, it's there before either of those chapels ever existed. And the only reference to a chapel there is a reference to a medieval church which used to be there before the Reformation. And the guy who writes about it says there used to be a chapel in Killay, but it hasn't been in use since before the Reformation. That's the only reference, and that field is probably exactly where it was. So that the field name contains a bit of information about what used to be on the site.
Excuse me, what date was that?
Sorry?
What date?
What this?
No, the one you just said. What date was that changed coming back to?
Right. The survey thing, the guy saying that it used to be in use before the Reformation was 1697, I think. That sort of time. A chap called William Gammon. Now then, here we are. Nice map of Bryn. This is a lot later, but it actually is the next available decent sort of map that we've got, showing the area. These are Ordnance Survey maps. The Ordnance Survey started off, well, it was after the Napoleonic Wars basically, because the government thought, oh no, if the French invade, we don't know what shape Britain is. It really was as simple as that. They knew roughly what shape it was, but they didn't have a decent proper map saying Britain actually is this shape. And these are the places where the French might invade, or this is a place where we could hide a fleet. So they set up the Ordnance Survey, which was, the aim of it was to basically map Britain at a relatively small scale, 1 inch to 1 mile. And that's basically the forerunner of the pink covered maps that we get today. About 50 years later, they thought to themselves, well, do you know what? We could do some large scale maps as well. So they got their plans, and all these major general types, some sort of, you know, Sergeant so-and-so would survey one particular part of the country. They got to this particular part of the country in the 1870s, and they set about surveying it bit by bit. They did it at 2 scales. One is 6 inches to the mile, which is this, which is great because, well, you can see the place in its context. You can see the great hills up and along, and the valleys coming through. You can see the main valley coming through. You can see how wooded it actually is at this stage. It's got things like tumulus, the cairn which is up on the hill, which I think was destroyed by putting the tip on it. Is that right?
Yeah, under the tip. Was it Kevin and Bryn, John?
Yeah,
That's under the tip now, isn't it?
Possibly further up.
it's a bit further right to the tip.
Right.
Or we can go compare because we've got a few of these. But these show the old farms, much the same way they were there before. We've got the collieries coming in, you see? So you can see that the whole place has changed completely in terms of its reason for being. Gone are the days when it's all about the Drove Road. I mean, there it still is going across, fair enough. And all about the farms, well, they're still there, but you've got other things coming in.
Have we got the trackway there, look?
Which one now? The railway?
No, the railway down here. This here, look. This is
Oh,
coming
yes, the tramway, yeah. You've got various things coming up this way as well. But you've got Bryn Gudnos Colliery coming up here. Bryn Colliery over here. And of course you need a lot of people to work those, and so that's why Bryn grows up. And you can see the amenities they're building as well. You've got the school there, that's the boys and girls school. Now is that the new school, the old school? That must be the old school. That's right, the new one comes later.
second, isn't it?
Chapels, Carmel Chapel, Jerusalem Chapel. Now then, Bryn Sion Chapel.
Yeah.
There we are down there. And I think on at least one of these, you can see the quarry they would have used to build the houses from. The good thing about these is that you can compare what it looks like at different times. This is it in the 1870s, 80s. The second edition, about 1900. It looks a bit different. It's just the way they've done the map. It's a lot sort of clearer and less cluttered. But I think they miss out some of the detail. But nonetheless, you've got old coal levels now, so they might have been in use from the previous one. Now they're old coal levels, more old coal levels, old trial levels. So they're basically digging for all they're worth to see what's actually available and worth digging. Old quarry, trial shaft, old shaft, they're everywhere. Bryn Colliery, disused.
And the railway's in there as well, no, is it?
That's it. Yeah, somebody's kindly put a dotted line across the middle of it just in case you miss it. So there it is, and there's Bryn Station down the bottom there. "20 years later again, there it is, there's a bit more. Only this time, you've got the extra bit down here. These great long terraces, and there's the layout of bits and pieces behind. We see a bit more of a little bit later on.
That's Bryn Street, isn't it?
That's it. Yes, that's it.
Yeah.
They do name the streets on these, but I'm afraid it's very hard to see when on this thing. Got St Tidvil's Church now, and the school next to it. That's the new school. I don't know, is that an old school now or a new school?
It's the old school now.
Right. There it is. But basically, population grows, the place is full. No space to expand it as it was, so they build it completely afresh. And that's the way of things. And this time, the place must be full of, optimism, and because they didn't know, would it stop at that size? Would it carry on growing? Would it double in size? Quadruple in size? And here we are, here's one of the colliery plans. Now there are a few of these, and I've got to say, they are quite hard to understand, but because basically they don't necessarily tell you how deep underground you are. Any of you ex-miners? No? Yep. There we are, you probably know far more about what's actually working with these things. But you get the faults on there, I think that's the fault going across there. You get various comments about how good the coal is and how much of it's been sort of cleared away in between. We've got a whole lot of these that we had from the South Wales Miners Museum people gathered them up from skips and various other places where they shouldn't have been, and they've fostered them with us. We've got plenty of photographs of these sort of things as well. Now that one there is, I believe, Bryn, it's a Bryn collar, isn't it?
Yeah.
Another aviation there.
That's it.
Very good.
Yeah, come in.
Yeah. And I think you could just about see that on that first photo, couldn't you?
So there were cameras there.
Yeah. There we are again at the sidings.
The screens about
Yeah.
Well, that's all sort of somewhere in between that, the previous map and this map. That's about sort of 1950s-ish. And you see they filled in those streets at the back, which they were just planning before.
And there's a recreation ground there as well, no?
Yes, about that.
Yeah, I love it.
Yes, that's right, yes.
And the bowling green.
Yeah. Bryn Navigation Colliery, it's not disused anymore, it's well and truly open. And there are a few more Station Terrace down there.
Excuse me a second. How old is this map?
1950-ish.
Not long ago then.
One thing to notice is this. See a lot more of that on the next couple of maps. It's the beginnings of forestry. Here's the next one, 1964. It's all surrounded with it. Now, have you got this the bug in the trees?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So basically, it's going to be open again before you know where you are. Is it?
Lots of
I don't know if it was there to some down.
Looks really
They
nice.
replanted now.
Yeah.
See that coming back.
I went up to Duncorruga a few months ago, and all the trees were just lying in droves, not flat.
It's the same around here.
Yeah. I talked to an old chap at the Miners Museum a few years ago. I said to him, "What are you going to use those trees for?" He said, "They're only worth paper pulp." I think they were planted for pit crops to start with. He said, "There's no goodness in them at all."
They run in the generation plant down in Margam now.
Is it?
They run
Oh.
Is it the biomass, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most of it's gone.
Well, hopefully it hasn't killed the soil underneath. But you think about those old fellas who work their fingers to the bone, kind of till all that, and keep it going.
A lot of that was planted actually by prisoners from Swansea Jail.
Was it?
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What time is it got today? These prisoners, should they? They get too much stuff.
On this one, you very clearly see this. See all around contour markings. That's the tip. See how tall it is there. And it must have, well, I mean, I've seen one picture, which you'll see shortly, which no doubt you'll remember what it was like. Big, huge thing. And you'd never guess now. Or I say that, so maybe you can. I don't know what it's like in the daytime. So there we are. This is 1990, and it's all just clear. It's just tumulus, site of, nothing left now. And disused workings. Dismantled railway. So it's sort of in that sort of post-industrial bit. Now, were the collieries still open at that stage?
Not in 1980.
Not in 1960.
65.
There we are.
4 years before this one.
Although the colony had closed in the 60s, they were still working the border, bringing the port to the surface of my state.
Right, okay. Yeah.
You know, and I was 70 now.
That's the only photograph I managed to find of the tip.
And you know, they went because you know up the top
Big
corner,
tip.
it's the tip. It's a bit of building.
Not of them, but it was
See, like,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
the first one.
Oh, right.
Bryn cottages.
Yeah. Is it houses now, or is it houses now, or is it
Yeah.
yeah.
What a storage.
I think that's down now, and it's at the other side of the
It's equal.
Yeah.
And the old foot lady.
Equal, and when over there, it's the rotation, so these tips.
They filled the valley in the back, didn't they?
Yeah.
And during the war, can you go back? During the war, they took the top of that tip down because it is in line with Stack of Ore in Carmarthen, and it was used by the German pilots as a line to where the bomb over Swansea.
Yes.
That's a big difference because it's such a landmark.
Yes.
Well, you see how it compares with the house underneath. Yeah. It's the thing. We've got large-scale maps. This is an example of it. I don't know. Whenever you try to do these things, you can guarantee the thing splits over several maps. Of course, Bryn is right in the corner of 4. You'll know because you've got to have a look at them. So there we are. This is one corner. It's got Jerusalem Chapel, Carmel Chapel, and a little bit of the river. Go along a bit. You've got part of the rest of Bryn, and you can see you've got the various little rows. Farteg row is where that Efalbach was to start with. Exactly there, basically.
And up there near Colead Road, you've got where the wagon repair place was.
Yeah.
Yeah?
What's his name?
That's where the petrol wagons
No,
repair.
it's the wagon repairs. Yeah, that's
The thing is, on the smaller scale map, you can't quite see the number of lines there were there. A whole lot of them there. And coming right up here, then you've got the remains of sort of, well, I don't know if that's remains or what, but there's some sort of a track going up there as well. And it looks as though it carried on that way.
Yeah, that would have taken you up to Tresio.
Yeah.
See the little row of the side of Bryn, what's it called there? Is it Buck Row?
That's Buck Row, yeah.
Yeah.
There's Meadow Row
What's that
there.
called?
And Cross Row there.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, there's not what that was. It's not nice,
Yeah.
because the main road is
No, I still go is the other side.
My signal
Yeah.
is over here now. Bryn Colliery.
Yeah.
Right, you know the dry road.
Yeah.
If you go up the other bit, it's
Yeah, I know where it used to be. Yeah, I couldn't sit on the
down
road.
Bryn Colliery that way.
I didn't know there was two families in there years ago.
My grandmother used to have a feed then, and then back
Yeah.
past the Bryn, where I live in.
And that way.
And go to Leith, because
Yeah.
every September there's a fair in Leith,
Yeah.
and they would have you there.
Yeah.
And it drives them from London all the way down.
It's crazy now.
And
Yeah.
I remember one person telling me that there was a choir in the Bryn, 1917, 1918, somewhere around there, and they competed in the National Eisteddfod in Leith. And they won. And they'd walk to Leith to compete. And when they came back, it was late at night, they all gathered here and started singing. So the village knew that they'd won then.
when we came up this way to live, there was no houses here.
No, yeah.
You know, this was after 1950 or
Yeah.
two. My father died, and it was around that time when they started building them.
The little pub is there, opposite
Yeah.
Farteg Row, PH.
Yeah.
There.
Yeah, excuse me. Where does the road to my stage and it's on there then?
Down, is that down this way?
No,
No.
it was in the wrong year. What's that?
That's right.
Engine house.
In the wrong year.
Ah,
Oh,
I can see Bryn Colliery on there now. So it's not further away from the others, isn't it? No?
Yeah.
So that's sort of underneath the first one. And you got the chapel there, colliery, Bryn Gardner's farm. So you've got the farm with everything sort of encroaching on it a bit.
A lot of the farms in the village are named after the drovers, or the results of the drovers. Bryn Gyrnos means Bryn Gyrru'r Nos, Bryn where we spent the night. Yeah, that's what it means. A Kilo Govid then, the narrow place where the cattle were shod. Yeah, you know, so they've all got nothing to do with coal. Because as Andrew said, prior to 1840, whatever, there were no coal mines here, it was just...
That's the thing, we look at Bryn today and we say, oh, this is here because of the farming, because of the coal mines. So there's a history that goes a long way back, and the two sort of went alongside each other.
He's building back and the small mill.
That's the reason why you're
Are those the premises that are on the main road?
brought up on the
All right.
That's right.
Because my mother's tenant community was cottages. Back in the 1880s, people removed the station.
When you're looking at
So the
the
colony of Bryn
development, the built environment, there's lots of other little things you can look at. One of them is well, there are occasional little maps you get. This particular one is a lovely little book I discovered. It's one of the Margam Estate documents. But they've got plans of what they call their leasehold cottages. Now, I'd have thought that all of the cottages in Bryn would have been leasehold from the Margam Estate at that stage, but maybe not. Anyway, here we've got 3 chapels. So you've got Bryn Sion, Carmel and Jerusalem. And it just shows you, what they're like. On the next page, you've got some of the cottages. So here's some cottages near Dressjog. That says Smith's shop, and they've crossed it out. That says shop, but it's a bit difficult to tell whether they've crossed it out or not. But you get a little bit of information anyway about how it was being built up.
That's just here.
Dressjog, yeah, further.
Yeah,
It says shop, and then Smith's shop. There was certainly a lot more shops in the village than you think, as we'll see in a bit. Yeah. Here's what looks like 6. They're numbered 1 to 6. Penny Wylot.
They were cottages then, were they?
Yeah.
Yes.
There were a lot of cottages there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back-to-back cottages.
As you come here, the road, passing
Yeah.
on the left.
Right.
And there was some behind Penny Farm as well, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Excuse me,
Penny Wigan.
are those cottages still there today then?
Yeah,
me,
yeah,
I-
as you're going out to Bryn.
Because my mother's John Thomas, he lived there before moving to Station Terrace in the 1890s. Some in the family Bible, some of the children had that address as their birthplace. That's where they were born, isn't it?
Yeah.
Moving on a bit. Urban and Rural District Councils were set up in 1894. And one of the important things they took over was responsibility for planning. And you gradually have the development of the sort of planning application process that we know today. Well, here we have the beginnings of that big block behind Bryn Gyrnos Street. So you've got Bryn Gyrnos Street running along there. This is a plan submitted in 1919 to Margam Urban District Council. It's a layout for 40 houses. So there we are, they were planning quite a big sort of reasonable sized planned development. That's what some of the houses look like.
Yeah, they were.
Anyone recognise those ones? Anyone see that one? Yeah. I think the idea of these was that's a sort of generic look to the things rather than... Yeah, are they all like that or are they all a bit different?
Oh, I think they're all like that then.
Yeah. And that's what they were meant to look like on the plan. by the mid-1930s, Margam Urban District Council didn't exist anymore. It had become part of Talbot Borough Council. But they're still at it. They're planning the central bit. And here we are, another 20 houses at Bryn. And so you can see how it all works. If you want to know the history of a house, for example, council records are a very good way of doing it. They're boring as anything, but you can wade through the minutes and find out when the planning went in. There are often completion certificates. You may be lucky and actually get the planning, you know, the actual plan for the house, but it's very hit and miss. Then there are things like rate books, which will tell you year by year, you know, how much they pay for the rates and what the rateable value is and this sort of thing. Sometimes it tells you how many rooms there are in the house. So, you know, if today you've got like a 6-room house with a little extension out the back, maybe back in the day it was only 4 rooms. These are ways you can find these things out. So it's all very well looking at maps, but let's have a look at some of the old pictures. Now then, here we are. That's the newish school. And you've got St Tidwell's there.
And obviously the school there, you could just see a bit of white at the back of the tree. That's where Roland's cottage is. They still there.
And the vicarage.
What year was that, do you know?
No. A lot of these things are undated, and this is one of them. Now, yeah, it's significantly after that other one I showed you at the beginning. You've got these trees growing here, they're these sort of slow growing usually.
Yeah, but I can't check it out.
No signs of that brickwork chimney either. That's probably less old.
I think it's the high street.
Yeah. Where does
Oh yeah.
I always thought right was the one, you know,
And where these trees are, they all sit down in the front.
really.
Yeah. There's lots of space between the houses.
See the station here?
It's still there.
And look at, you know, it's at the bottom.
Substation, yeah, that's there.
I think that of these gates are there. What is that, like an electric?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they used to be a big one, they used to have
There we are.
And there's no Mysing Road there, right? Yeah? In Bryn.
Apparently that goes to the telephone exchange across the road.
Telephone exchange, there's a number 4 there.
That was a telephone exchange.
That's right, the shop.
Wow, there we are.
2 houses back from the shop. And I'll tell you from our practice, I'll tell you. And then Mum left it, on the second big window going up was the post office.
That's the other coming up across the shop there, see?
Yeah.
I think we had that first calendar, didn't we?
The top of the other one.
Yeah, honestly, yes.
I think the shop.
There we are. Everyone used to get on the train there? We've got no idea what they want that one is. Yeah. Is it still walkable, the track?
The track is, yes.
Oh,
Yeah. It's a horse and cycle track now.
Yeah.
And Melbourne lives with that station, is it?
No idea when that one was. Somebody sort of took a snap out of an aeroplane passing by.
Well, it was prior 1920 because the main road isn't in there.
Yeah,
There we are.
could we should call that.
You know, you ask where the Milestone Road is now. That's in there, then.
Because you used to say, but you knew it. No, it can't be there. No, you're wrong there.
Collier Row is
There's
there.
Collier Row, Arcross Row there.
I think what it could have
So it couldn't be there.
There's Jerusalem Chapel.
Yes. But you just go with them.
What, the main road? Ah,
These are all, this is all to lack there, isn't it?
That is our masterpiece there.
That's across
that's
Meadow Road.
Meadow Road, Cross Road, back out there. Collier Road.
There.
And then Rock Cottage
Yeah.
as
Oh,
well.
there's one big cottage
that's
here.
right.
Yeah.
And the old street.
Love it. See, that's
The
big
main road is to your left.
Yeah,
there.
that's the big
Yeah, that's it.
And that's the Meadow Road. There. Cross
Yeah,
Road.
before 1920, I mean.
Yep. There we are.
Oh, I can't remember the crescent, yeah.
Coming a lot further forward, this is 1960s I think now, it's all sort of a lot of dereliction. There we are, there's the old church and
Yeah.
When my father lived in about there, just
See the bus stop now.
yeah, is that the bus up in the middle there, the square
that's
thing?
the
And the old bells, is it?
Yeah.
Call it no canteen. I think.
Canteen.
Yeah.
The bars.
Here we are again.
The station.
Down the railway station.
Yeah.
Maybe I thought.
Yeah, doesn't look so I'll be arrested wrong with that.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a rich sheep in there.
You are looking across a bit.
Very nice.
Look at the chapel terrace.
Yeah.
And where's Saint Chapel? Was it this 200?
One end up there.
Yeah.
And then you can see all the across the side that we come in.
But no, that's not.
Maybe I go into the railway again?
Yeah. Yeah.
I see
Yeah.
stage right in the garden.
Yes.
Well, let's have a little bit of religion for a change. This is from a trade directory from 1926. And it says, this is how it describes Bryn. Bryn is a hamlet 4 miles east of Port Talbot. The Church of St. Tidville, erected by the late Miss Talbot in 1901, at a cost of £5,500, will seat about 400 persons. There are also Baptist, Congregational and Calvinistic Methodist chapels. That's all it has to say about Bryn. But before you had the chapels, what on earth did people used to do? Well, I mean, the first chapels seem to, all three of those chapels seem to have been built round about the 1858, 59, 60 sort of mark. And fair enough, there were probably non-conformists meeting in local farms, barns and similar, you know, just sort of trying out, see if it was worth putting a congregation together. But officially, they're meant to go down to Margam. And here we have Janet Thomas of Gascoigne getting buried at Margam. Now, I think that probably was in the Abbey Church at that stage. Previously, that was in Capel Mile up on the hill. Heck of a walk, though. Happy events as well. Here we have Margaret, the daughter of William and Margaret Madden of Drusiog. Very fast, yes it is. It's
Yeah.
hard to see it. I mean, sometimes people didn't used to bother baptising the children. But then picture the scene, you just had a baby, you live, what, 5, 6, 7 miles up and down the hills away from the church, you might think, do you know what, maybe another year. Sometimes they bring the whole family down together and they baptise a lot. They'll be different ages. But we've got the chapels. Now, in the archives, bizarrely, all we've got of all your chapels is a bunch of photographs which were taken in the 1990s.
I live opposite them.
There we are.
It's a house.
It's a house now.
I think that's the case with all of them, isn't it?
Mm.
I looked up places of worship in Bryn on the internet and you can't find anything.
He was, what do you call it?
I was baptised.
Baptised there.
Yeah.
There was a big place in the centre. Between those two doors.
That's right, yeah. Yeah.
When was that?
They're all slightly different dates. I think that one comes first. It would be 1856, 7, 8, that sort of time. Here we have details of them all. It tells you all about it here. Jerusalem. Apparently built 1885, but that's the new one because there was a previous one on the site. This is the religious census of 1911, which tells you it's got all the chapels in a given area. So these are all the chapels in the urban district of Margam. But there's Jerusalem, Bryn, Bryn Sion, Bryn, and where's the other one gone? Carmel, Bryn. They're all down here. It tells you how many
That's a house of sorts.
how many people they would have fitted in, and there's information about what the state of the debt of the chapel is, and so on.
If you could see it now, wouldn't it?
Now that picture was meant to come before the last one. I don't know what happened there, but anyway. Here we've got inside Jerusalem Chapel as it was. There's
You are, see, that's where the, underneath, it's where the legal square, that's where the,
baptistry is. Yeah.
Prior to that, we used to baptise them in the fruit bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I've seen a picture which is quite interesting. In the 1904 revival, you had lots of people becoming Christians and getting baptised. There's this one particular picture which appeared in a paper during the winter. I don't know, I can't remember whether it was December or January, that sort of time, and there are people getting baptised in the River Corrug. Imagine that.
Yeah.
Hardy souls. See, I go to a Baptist church, and we've got one of those little swimming pools underneath the pulpit, you know. And the first thing they do before having a baptism is they get the massive great thing, like the thing they got inside a kettle, stick it through a hole, and turn it on for a day, make sure it's nice and warm.
Yeah.
Around Corrug, you know. Here's another one. Now you know
That's Carmel.
Carmel, yes.
Oh, it's a real nice resort.
Is it a house again?
Yeah, sort of.
That's the chapel.
Yeah.
Oh, that's different.
It's very good, right?
That's the inside of it then, isn't it?
That's it the other way.
That's the main part of it.
It's a nice sort and a restaurant. People ask you what's the one that is terribly possible.
Yeah. And you got this one now. The back of this one said this used to be an air raid shelter.
That's the English Baptist.
So tabernacle. There we are.
That goes down with the community centre.
No, it's about Charlie.
Oh, right, yeah.
They're not great, these photographs, so you can't see them in context. You just see the side of the building, which is
Yeah.
pretty much anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Then we have it inside.
There's that, yeah.
Still open?
Yeah.
Well.
That's the only one.
Yes.
It's only about 6 from in there.
So,
Don't go on inside church. You know,
Nothing for the church at all. It's a bit weird. We won't have any records for the church because it's in the diocese of Llandaff. And by order of the bishop, all the Llandaff records don't go to us, even though they're in our area. They all go to Cardiff. So we've only got Swansea and Brecon diocese ones, which are from the other side of the River Towed, which is a bit unfortunate, but there we are. I'm slightly worried that all the records were chucked, because I've never come across any reference to St Tyndale's in the records otherwise. Lovely stained glass windows there.
Yeah, that was put in many of the walls.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because they converted it to church. They put it in there.
Yeah.
So it's the other way around.
Yeah. So moving on a bit, we've had a good look at sort of the development of the town, the village as a built space. But if you can look at the people, there are lots of different places where you can find references to them. If only we had the chapel records, you could look at those. Because, you know, it's easy to gloss over the impact of the chapels, but it wasn't just a place of worship. It was a place of music, it was a place of societies, it was a place where the average guy could be a deacon, he could be in charge. It's a place where people got together and did a whole lot of different things. There were often dramatic societies. Sometimes the rugby clubs and football clubs came out of the churches and chapels. I know some of the Premiership side started off like as church teams. Yeah.
At least attended it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So I mean, it's something for everyone there, and it's a major shame that basically all those chapels are closed. All the records have gone. I mean, any clues where the records are gone? Because if we had them, they would be preserved for posterity.
And all those houses up there, you see Meadow and they got rid of people from there because they built so many houses in some place, thinking steel companies were in for them.
Yeah.
And they didn't. So to get over the council, they took everybody from these houses and they laid them down. Those that they could get them. So they still got gas and electric and all that.
Because empty houses.
And they didn't take down the box and everything, they built up there, should be much nicer.
So there are some records we have got of people at different times. This one here is a thing called the land tax. It's great, the land tax. It starts back in the 1780s, 90s, depending on which area. It goes through to 1831 and then abruptly stops. And it's a complete list of all the tenants of all the farms in an area. So here you are, you see, this is the hamlet of Havon-a-Porth, which is a part of Margam parish that covered this area. And so you've got all your farms here, you see, you've got, I can't see from that distance. Bryn there we are. Bellingvach, is going to read it for some bizarre reason. Vartegvach, Gatcombe, Penarheed, I think it is.
Penny.
Yes. And so on. But it's great, you see, because you can see who the tenants are, you can see when they're there. And according to this book, some of the farms had the same family in from goodness alone knows how far back. And just because...
Yeah, 300 years old family was in that door.
Right, but that's 300 years you know they were there. They could have been there way, way back.
Oh, yes, yeah.
And it's a funny thing about farms, see, because we look at them and we think, oh well, yeah, someone probably built out in medieval times and that's when they first came here and so on. Not a bit of it. If you dug around underneath the house, you'd probably find the remains of stuff which was there from long before. All we're talking about here is the written record, and there may be other things going back far beyond that. And maybe that your family had been there for 300 years before that again.
I know my father was the first one to buy it off Martin.
Yeah, that's right. And when it all went up for grabs. but maybe your ancestors were tenants of the monks.
Yeah. Well, David, is it David Thomas is there?
Yes,
out there?
I get it.
I've got him
That's
on-
right.
Sorry?
Yes.
Yeah.
It is David.
Yes.
He's on my top of my family tree.
Yeah.
From me back, I've got 11 generations.
Good going.
So 1740, second generation, 40,
Yeah. But do bear in mind we've got those earlier rentals going back to the 1680s. So you might be able to be in a position to check out who was there way back then. So you never know. So that's one sort of record there is. We've got the rentals, of course. And here we are, you see. Yeah, you can have a good look and see if he is on that one. But if he is, great, you know. I probably copied the wrong part of the page. But
What year is that?
1686. Well, we've got a full set going all the way forward to that 1940 when the whole thing was sold off.
Yeah.
Here's another one, I kind of like this. This is the first page of the school logbook. Now the thing about the school is that, just as today, it's right at the centre of the community. And if you've got a kid, your kid's going to go to that school. And so it's all in there. And it's very interesting reading these things. Now, we've only got one logbook actually with us. Presumably all the other ones are at the school still.
There's still one in the school, it's very interesting to read actually.
They're great, that kind of things. So here we are, it's the first page. I, Emily Griffiths, took charge of Bryn Board School. Number on registers 51. Number present today 46. The school contains 5 standards and infants. There's a list of articles received, 4 dozen slates, half a dozen 5th standard progressive readers, and various readers for different standards. 1 dozen infant primers. I don't know if current primary teaching methods are anything like what they were doing back then. Half a dozen chambers reading sheets, and so on. 1 logbook, there we are, it's probably the one she's writing in. 2 attendance registers, which sadly have gone. If you had those, you'd have a list of all the kids who attended school over time. Cracking things those are. I examined the different standards today. The children read and spell very fairly, arithmetic and writing backward. Grammar and geography have not been taught at all. Now, all the head teachers in those days used to do that. They'd really slate what had been going on before. I took on this school, it was in a terrible state. And of course the idea is that before long the books will show that it's picking up and they say, yes, so this is me. Knowing that their successor is going to say exactly the same thing about them. But there's all sorts of interesting bits and pieces. Now one of the head teachers spent the whole time saying, oh, not very good attendance today, it was wet. Oh, attendance up a little bit today. No, it's back down again. That's all they'd say. But some logbooks for other areas say all sorts of interesting things. There's one in the sort of Pontedauer area that said there was an earthquake today and we sheltered underneath the tables. So it wasn't just a slight one, they must have thought all things were going to fall in on them. Attitudes to the Welsh language come out sometimes, and one of the teachers in Wynarloedd says how he caned some children for crying out in the British tongue. So a nasty way of saying it, but that's what he said. And you've got details about fairs. Now, Neath Fair is a massive thing. Basically, all the kids for miles around used to bunk off and go right down the fair. And so you get things like, tennis bad today, the fair is on. Sometimes, we're not allowed to work in the colliery. They'd come into school because there was no work for them that day. So they'd come in and learn what they could before going back to work again. That sort of thing gets mentioned. Sometimes you get things to do with the war. Now the war is an interesting one because in Swansea, as you know, the whole place is bombed flat. Bryn School took a direct hit. But the day after the direct hit, the head teacher doesn't say, oh no, our school's been bombed, how are we going to cope? He says, no, some of the children came with wet feet today. And that's the most important thing because it's been raining and the kids have wet feet. It's like brushing all the unpleasantness away and just carrying on with normality. So you never quite know what you're going to get with these things. Several new cases of diphtheria have broken out this week again. And there's an embargo on brothers and sisters of sick children coming to school. This interferes very much with the attendance and schoolwork just at present. 2 fresh cases broken out again today. The school inspector has come along to try and work out where the source of the disease is that's so prevalent in the village. 4 more girls, there we are. This is all within 1 week in September. 4 more girls home today suffering from diphtheria. Attendance very poor. It's impossible to carry on the work as it should be done because so many children are absent. So there's serious stuff going on as well. A most unusual occurrence took place this morning. One of the little boys in standard 3 went off in a faint to remain unconscious for about 1.5 hours. This great thing interfered with work. So he was caned thoroughly when he came round. So there we are. But that's sort of sandwiched in between poor attendance today. It's raining again. But you see, you know.
Dinner medication will be a good expect.
So school records. Here's another one, I like this one. This comes out of the same trade directory that I copied a little bit about the chapels from. And it is a list of private residents. Well, not everyone puts themselves forward for that. I mean, in some parts people used to because they wanted people to know where they live. But you had to pay a sixpence to get in the book, so you know, everyone knew who everybody was up there anyway. They didn't want to be advertising themselves in directories. But these guys did. This is the commercial section. And you've got a whole lot going on here. You see, Baldwin's Limited colliery owners. They're the first ones. You've got Baldwin's Road down the road, I noticed. So there we are. That's Bryn Cooperative Industrial and Providence Society Limited. Now that's a classic, that is. I came across some records that were brought in to Pontdarra Library a few years ago from Gethley, and it was all about a Providence Society. Now, these days, if you're ill, you go to hospital, and it's all fine, just pay for your national insurance and all the rest of it. But in those days, there was none of that. And so the Victorians, being enterprising kind of characters, started up Providence Societies, and basically it started off life as a bunch of guys would get together, pay their shilling or whatever, a week or a month, into a common pot. And if one of the members was ill or incapacitated in some way and couldn't work, then there would be a payout. And so there's one of these up here. But it was absolutely important, wasn't it? You know, if you're down the mines and something goes wrong, you break your arm, you break your leg, or you're completely incapacitated, that's the end. That could be the end of your working career. How are you going to carry on? In the days when there wasn't anything else apart from Neath Workhouse looming in the distance. Now then, Bryn Library and Institute. There we are. That's up there.
Farmers dance.
Captain Bryn Colliery. There we are. David Rees, the manager. Daniel Griffith Thomas, Royal Oak Public House, Vatnegvach. Got the grocer, Daniel Rowland. Dressmaker, there we are. Miss Ada Davis. David Thomas Davis, farmer, Pen Heath Wylot. Mrs. Elizabeth Deverell is the midwife. No popping down the road to the hospital. This is, you know, home deliveries and everything. Other farmers, more farmers. Now then, Daniel Griffith, a confectioner, Bronwyn Jones. And you've got a music teacher as well. Now I think she looks like she is the daughter of the shopkeeper.
Does it say any?
Big one?
Is it really?
Annie May. It's hard to say what that actually says. It looks like Martill.
She was our organist in church for years.
All right. This is 1926.
Yeah, but
So there we are.
she was a good age.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, just so you know what it was. shopkeeper, grocer, draper, pottery manager, surgeon. There we are. Fried fish dealer. Chippy up here. More farmers. And a couple more shopkeepers. But basically, you know, how many shops have you got here now?
Oh, I know.
One. There we are. A whole lot of them in those days. But you see, as you said, Darren, the bakery killed off because people could get them cheaper down the road.
So the rest of us staying
Yeah.
Yeah. You're talking about the bakery. The baker here, the chap in charge of the 1904 revival was a chap called Evan Roberts.
Yeah.
And I've got a photograph of him that Nan gave me.
Oh, yeah.
Her grandfather and Evan Roberts were two brothers. And he used to often come to the village here after he'd
Yeah, she wrote that.
gone through his fame or whatever.
Yeah.
And
And that's who she's from.
yeah.
Her father married Sarah Jones, who was, you know, father had the baker, so
Yeah.
then he got married, and he went in there when he got married to
The Roberts.
Auntie Sarah,
Yeah.
but Nan's mother.
Now we're coming on to the census. I've got a huge amount of censuses. Basically, we could spend a whole session going through saying, hey, do you remember him, or do you relate to him, or so on. Basically, I've got a few of these just to show you what's going on in this area in 1861. I picked 1861 because it was around about the time when the chapels were built. And although we haven't got any maps from 1861, if you've got 3 chapels being built within a few years of each other, it means you've got a lot of people living there. I think maybe the first time that you've got a reasonable sized population in the area. So here we are, you've got the sort of Bryn farm, Belinbach cottage, and then Bryn cottage. So you've got a little bit of the usual thing, you know, you've got the farms and the cottages, and you've got Rhys Jenkins and his whole family there. This bit here tells you how they relate to each other. He's a head, wife, daughter, servant, no, son, big pardon, and so on. So I'll just see it this close. Got their ages down there. These are the parishes they're actually from, so Margam, Llangynoed, Margam, and so on. It's a local family, they're all born locally. But in Belinbach Cottage, you've got a chap from West Pembrokeshire, Llanelli, Carmarthenshire. In Bryn Cottage, you've got a mole catcher. There we are, where are you from? Canterbury. So here's a few which are all Bryn colliery cottages. No particular surprise that coal miner, labourer, and so on. We've got iron miners as well. The reason being, to get through the rock, you find a lot of iron down there. There we are, that's it. So the two are often together. They're from all over the place, look. Lefty, Ballaston, Margam. It's Carmarthenshire anyway. Pembrey, Carmarthenshire again, Mama, Llangyfellas, Margam, Llangynoed, Pembroke, no, Pembrey, Margam. So you've got a lot of people coming in, basically, from outside, because the work's there. Here's the next page, similar sort of thing. Labourer, coal miner, dressmaker, grocery shop. Ah, there we are. That's one of the little shops there. Coal miner. Once again, you've got Newport, Llangynslow. Oh yes, here we are, County Cork in Ireland. And the same thing again. Now, as one of these censuses is done every 10 years, and you can compare the population of the whole place every 10 years, see how it changes. You can trace your family, it's your family, you can trace them back, see how the family's grown or shrunk or whatever, get more information. So a census gives you a whole lot of information. But the earliest one you can look at is 1841, which is around about a time when, you know, I think you'll find a couple of coal miners around about that sort of time, but they're not, it's not big time coal mining. The latest one you can look at is 1911, where it's quite a bustling, thriving little place. And you've got everything in between, and you can find a huge amount from that. Now, just at the moment, we've got a free subscription to some internet sites where you can look at the census. You can search it all for nothing with us. So if I were you, if you're interested in looking up your family tree and you want to start it, do come down the archives. We've got friendly staff who will help you get it all started, and these resources are there for nothing. Now, if you did it in your own home, you'd have to pay for it. Have you seen those? Have you ever watched Time Tea? You watch that? Yeah, and there's always that advert saying, "Oh, I typed my name in and my journey began." So a tree starts growing up inside of the thing. A load of rubbish. You don't just type your name in and out it comes. You search bit by bit by bit.
Yeah.
That's one of those sites, and there's quite a hefty fee you have to pay per month to get the subscription. It's well worth coming down. You can, you know, you can search
Where is
all
that
that.
then? Where?
Right, where are we? We are in what used to be called County Hall in Swansea.
That's what they said it was to be.
We're not going to no, we're on the ground floor. Yeah.
Because I remember somebody gave us a talk, and then they said there was something implemented.
Ah, well, that's where all the documents are held.
Oh, yeah.
We've got loads of documents. There's 170,000 things on our catalogue, and 3 miles of shelves full of all sorts of things.
Yeah, we are talking to the wine ones.
Are you open every day then? In your office?
Tuesday to Friday,
Oh,
normal office hours.
You have to make it come.
It's probably best to, but you can just pretty much turn up these days.
I'd like to be saying
That's it. That's what I've got for you. So I hope you enjoyed it. So thank you for bearing with me for not, you know, knowing where all the places are. But the thing is, when the pictures are up, I can stand back. You guys know what you're looking at. And the main thing is, it's not just that, you know, it's a good thing to come down and see us, but, you know, you hold your heritage as well. There's a couple of different ways you hold it. First of all, there's bits and pieces, old photographs, old books. Maybe someone's got those old chapel records somewhere knocking around. If they are out there, they may get lost. You know, someone looks at one day and says, "What is this old rubbish? Ah, I'm going to skip, I don't understand it, I don't know what it's all about." With us, it's kept in climatically controlled conditions. It's looked after properly behind locked doors. It's not just locked away in some cave somewhere where only professors are around to look at it. It's there for everyone to come and look at. You know, we get it out and we'll help you use it. That's what it's there for. That's what we exist to do. So we're very keen to sort of preserve heritage that people have got, and it's not just locked away forever in some funny place a million miles away. It is very much accessible to everybody. And the other thing is, it's in you, in your minds, in your memories. And your memories are worth recording, they really are. Because, I'll tell you for why, if you look at official archives, yes, you can say that, oh, so-and-so used to farm such and such a farm way back when. You've no idea what it was like to be him, or what it was like to farm that piece of land, unless you've actually got experience of it. By the same token, we know through the records that in 1941 the centre of Swansea was extensively bombed. We know how many properties were damaged, we know how many people were killed, we know how many casualties there were. They're just lists of stuff. We don't know from those records what it was like to wake up the day afterwards and find that the town you loved was bombed flat. And that little shop you used to shop at was gone. But we do know what it was like because people were recorded in the 70s and the 80s and more recently, and their memories were put on tape. So we're going to hear people talking about what it was like to live through that. And the thing is, you'll have memories of the mining down here. And in 100 years' time, people will say, yes, I see all the mines around here. But without those memories being recorded somehow, it's lost. So if you haven't got a tape recorder and fancy doing it, sit yourself down there and record it. It's well worth doing. Or if you fancy jotting it down, then jot it down, because it's worth recording. It's the heritage of your area. And I can't, encourage you enough to do that sort of thing. So anyway, thank you for having me, and
Thank you very much.
I will come back and look at it in when the sun's out again.
Challenge me, we'll come back with a piece of Bryn, you can run through the village as well.
I've heard of that.
Anyway, thank you very much, Andrew. I'm sure you've all thoroughly enjoyed taking you back down the line. But Andrew was talking now about recording. The primary school have been awarded over £4,000, £5,000 grant from the lottery. And they're looking into the history of coal in the village. And one of the things they have to do is to record people who were daughters of, or people who know of what mining was like. They've got want to interview these people. They wanted children to interview these people. So bear that in mind. Mrs. Francis Jones might be phoning you up and asking if the kids can ever talk to you. But again, Andrew, thank you very much. If you want any more information on the Bryn, as Andrew said, they've got miles and miles of archives in County Hall in West Glamorgan, and you're more than welcome to go down there. I was down there a fortnight ago, and I've got most of these old maps now.
And you've got your own village website.
And we've got our own village website as well. Yeah. Okay then.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 prizes on the raffle. With the lights on that? Two to 1 to 2 to 5.
Everybody